Hey guys, it's Slow E82, and I totally did not steal your exhaust ideas. We have my sleeper N52 325i. Now, it looks about as average as any other E90 that you would see in the junkyard. It might look about as average as the length of my peen. In terms of performance and sound, it is anything but. So, I had fabbed up a custom 3-inch stainless steel exhaust. Totally ripped off most of the ideas from Slow E82. Say 2-to-1 Y going into 3-inch stainless steel, going all the way back to a single vibrant resonator. Except the only difference is I have a muffled side, so I do have a dump, an electronically controlled dump, and then on the muffled side I have it going into an N55 E82 muffler. Because I live in a state like New York where having fun is illegal. Loud exhaust tickets I believe are $1,000. So I needed to be able to turn it on and off, because trust me, it is very loud. We had also deleted my secondary catalytic converters. No more emissions. But it's for track use only. Getting rid of your secondaries, these here, about 10 horsepower. So today we're gonna test. I'm gonna show you how crazy this sounds. But not only that, we're gonna give back to the community. We're gonna give these catalytic converters to a tweaker so that they can smoke meth. As you can see, this right here, that's the old little valve controller. Right now it should be on the muffled side. See, nothing too crazy. Then we turn it into loud mode. Opened right up. Quite a bit of a difference. I needed this, so hopefully maybe delay getting a ticket, because it probably will happen eventually. Even down low it's still relatively quiet, but once you get up high RPMs, it's freaking dummy loud. It might just be go straight to jail loud. Look at this freaking dumb. You're lucky I'm not going faster.
For those who don't know, I'm also running cows headers, so keep that in mind. Now, for those of you who are interested in how this was made, the rest of the video is kind of a compilation on how we fabbed it all together. So first things first, I used all Amazon parts besides the OEM muffler from an E82. So if you're interested in buying the same parts that I have, I'll put the links in the description. As I mentioned, this setup was inspired by a user called Slow E82 who has a very crazy sounding N52. He's got some cool videos, so go give him a subscribe. But basically his this setup is just converting to 3-inch, putting a single vibrant resonator, and just going straight back. As I mentioned, I wanted a muffler on my setup, so that's where mine differs, but I can't deny that it was inspired by him. Now, I went with all stainless steel parts and fittings, so I might have added a little bit to the cost, but in total, I spent $618. $212 was the muffler that I bought on eBay, $406 for all the pipe, fittings, and the valve on Amazon, and not to mention I had a lot of the straight piping left over. But if you wanted to recreate this setup without a muffler and be loud constantly, the cost on Amazon without the valve is $227. Another thing to factor in is since I deleted my secondary cats, I can sell them. I called up a local scrap recycling place and they offered $134 for both of them, or otherwise $67 each, but the going rate always fluctuates. But subtracting that from my cost, it brought my total parts to $484. So here's the stock exhaust before we dropped it. You can see I still had secondary catalytic converters, and you can see how rusty the muffler delete had become in the last 4 years. So we started by chopping the front of the exhaust, but leaving a bunch of room to work with so we could figure out where we wanted to place the Y adapter. As you can see, we put them back onto the car and then kind of mocked up where we would want it with the 45. And then cut them.
I cut them so we could bend them out to fit to the reducer there.
Oh yeah,
2-to-1 reducer.
Because that thing is pretty wide, you know, too far apart.
Way too far apart. So now we're gonna bend. These are gonna be. This one is the left. This one's the right. So now these two pipes are gonna go like that to fit up to the reducer.
Perfect.
The Y adapter is wider than the width of the two pipes coming out of the headers. So what we had to do was do pie cuts just by cutting slits on both ends, but leaving some material, but basically so that we could bend the pipes into the direction that they would need to be to add some width. So then once we were able to bend them enough to fit into the Y, we just kind of tacked everything together so that it would stay. Here's a shot of making sure that we had enough clearance from the upper heat shields, in which we did. All the gaps would be closed later.
So right now you're in, okay, where you just had it was in line with the drive shaft. Right now you're aiming towards where the exhaust is about to be wanting to go. Alright, so here's perfect. I like that.
We only used straight pieces and 45-degree angle pieces, and we kind of roughly matched the direction that the stock exhaust goes, but with less complexity. So then we tacked in the resonator during the straightaway back, which was kind of the best place to put it. So then we were checking to make sure that we're still in line with where we needed to be, and then debating where we wanted to fit the valve, which in the end wound up being just past the differential. So we're tacking up more straightaway pieces. And as you can see, that's where the dump valve ended up, just past the differential. There's a nice little upward section between the subframe where it fit perfectly. Then we used a coupler to connect the straight piece and the valve. So basically what we did was we just built everything, tacked it together, and then started to worry about the hangers a little bit later on. We used a jack to hold things in place. So in the center of the car, we used an OEM hanger and screwed it in place of where that middle cross section goes, because we weren't going to be using that anymore. It wasn't going to fit with the 3-inch exhaust. So we used the original screw for that hole and then added that hanger with the rubber bushing and then added a rod, which was welded to the exhaust to have a dampened hanger. So then here, he's doing some final welds to kind of solidify everything before we did the tailpiece, just to keep everything together nicely. So he was closing the gaps on all the pie cuts and on the Y section. Here's a look at some of the final welds. We added a hanger that would go into where the OEM muffler hangs from to add some support where the valve is, since we weren't going to use it anyway, because the E82 muffler has totally different hanging points. Instead of having one in the front and one in the rear, it has two in the rear by the bumper. So to have some good support, we built a custom rod that we ended up welding to the crash bar to slot into the rear hang point.
So does mine. Okay.
You can work with that, bro. It's on there.
It's on there though, is it not? I'm not the welder, but it's sticking enough for you to weld.
Here's what that rear hanger looks like welded to the crash bar. So the only thing that was left was adding that final 45 piece to go upward into the muffler. And I wanted the exhaust to be able to come down in two pieces. So I had them weld the 45 to the muffler side and then cut slits into the other end so that we can use a clamp to attach it to the valve side. And that was about it, aside from some minor details like we added some globs to the end of the hanging rods so that they wouldn't fall out of the bushings. But once it was hung up for the final time, everything sat very securely. The fitment to the exhaust tips was nearly perfect. We just made a few small chops to the rear bumper, and you couldn't really tell that anything was different. So for the valve, I bought an electric valve, not a pneumatic one. So the plug plugs into the motor, and it goes up, and it's zip tied to a little piece of plastic there. So then the way it gets into the car, what I did was I just unscrewed this lower tray, and the wire comes through, gets kind of pinched. Here's where I have all the spare wiring and the receiver. So then it goes up. I have it tucked under this rear cushion, and then very simply it's just plugged into the cigarette port, and that's where I have my valve controller. And yeah, that's about it. Shout out to Aiden, Chris, and Jamie for helping me build this, and yeah, be sure to subscribe for more N52 stuff.
Oh my god. That is the freaking loudest.